If your audience, your students, are mainly children, I'm going to put youth in with children. I want you to consider, other than lecture, some ideas. And truly, if you look online, it won't be a matter of what can you find. It will be a matter of you choosing what you want to. Not everything has to be a hands-on art craft that takes you 6 months to prepare that's done in 20 minutes. I want you to consider role playing. Is there a way to teach the lesson or the big idea for what you've got these kiddos for? Is there a way that you could do that that engages them, physically engages them? Consider problem-based learning. Maybe they come into your classroom and you've got a question or a problem, and they have to use scripture or the story that you're telling in order to solve the problem. And I want you to think outside the box in terms of, we're still going to use wait time, we're still going to use think time. But if there's a problem, particularly with older children and youth, they'll often engage some in the fact that they have to work to get whatever the answer is. Sometimes it's really interesting if there are multiple answers. There's not always just one right answer. If there were, then we could all memorize scripture and no one would need to reconsider it again. We could just recall it from memory. But most of what we know about scripture is about application. And so teaching children that application process is not just about knowing that Jesus rose after 3 days, but maybe the why he rose. Why is, not just scripturally, but why is that important to you? Why is that important to us? The questions that allow them to think beyond your classroom. Another that I really want you to think about is where you stand in your classroom. Proximity with students is so important. You've all seen really good teachers, or maybe you are a really good teacher, that a student is very much off task. Maybe they're fiddling with something they're not supposed to have, and you walk over towards them and they will become to be a little more engaged, or they decide to go all in and then fall out of their chair and cause a scene. We also know that kids often respond either because they want attention or they are seeking something from you. So whether that attention is positive or negative, proximity is something that we need to use as teachers, not to stand in the front of the room, but to mingle with them wherever they are, whether it's a role play or problem-based, or even a lecture that as you're telling the story, as you're reading, you're moving with them in the classroom. Another idea that I want you to consider is discipline. It's a touchy subject when we come to church. Discipline is something in the school setting that we acknowledge up front, and we set expectations, and we know these are the things that happen if you follow the rules, and these are the things that happen if you break the rules. It's okay to do the same thing in your Sunday school class or your youth group or your preschool or teaching time with children. It's okay to set expectations and then to have both positive consequences and or negative consequences when things don't go right. It's important, though, before you implement that you talk to everyone who's involved. Really, when we talk to parents and those that are leading or coordinating whatever it is that we're teaching and get everyone on the same page, really there's very little conflict that begins to happen. But when we just say, well, I don't have to discipline kids, they're here for Sunday school or they're here for children's worship and they can really do whatever they want to, that's not safe or healthy. Kids are not the ones in charge. And when you get into a power struggle, which often happens in church settings, when you're in a power struggle with a young person, they win. Because it's rare that you can flip that power back and take that authority back from them. So consider not just your environment, not just relevance, but what are the teaching tools that I've put in this toolbox? Role play, active learning. proximity to move around the classroom, and what discipline do I have in place? That's not always a bad thing. Often discipline keeps things from happening rather than being a response to a negative behavior that kids often exhibit.